Speaking up about abuse is difficult, especially for a community that often feels like it has no voice, our whai kaha community. Gary Williams is a long-time disability advocate and also a state abuse survivor. He was an expert for the Royal Commission's inquiry. Gary issued a challenge to the government when he spoke to our reporter, John Boynton.
The public doesn't often see these hospital training schools, as they're called. It prefers not to think about them.
They were the hidden hospitals where our most vulnerable suffered horrific abuse.
These are inspiring places where the close, misty horizons of the mentally retarded's world are slowly clearing.
Places where generations of children with disabilities were supposed to be kept safe by the state.
Most people were young, innocent children when they entered the system, and the system didn't care for them.
A number of survivors from the disabled community gave their testimony at the Royal Commission of Inquiry. Now, 2 years later, they wait to see what redress will be on the table from the government.
State abuse survivor Gary Williams, now a voice for his community.
The government can't just stand to one side and put this into a bottom drawer.
Gary only has one picture of himself as a child.
How old are you there, Gary?
I guess I'm about 5.
5?
Yes.
Do you think about what that young boy is going to be going through in just a few years?
I try not to.
It's not widely known that in the outskirts of Christchurch, on the hills overlooking Nelson, and on the plains near Levin are 3 special hospitals caring for 1,500 patients, most of them children.
In the 20th century, the parents of disabled children faced considerable pressure from society to place them into state institutions because they were deemed better places for them to be. But once in these institutions, many tamariki would never leave.
Some patients are severely subnormal and need the constant care of the nursing staff.
Parents try to fight the expectation that they should put children with disabilities into institutions. However, in 1953, a government committee led by Dr. Robert Aiken recommended further expansion of hospitals for disabled children.
I don't give people up to care, not because they want to, but because they've been convinced that this is the best option for everybody.
Gary first entered state care at 13 because he had cerebral palsy. He was sent from his East Coast home to the Pukeora Sanatorium in Hawke's Bay.
I came from a world where I wasn't considered disabled. I was just part of the community. I was somebody's dad, somebody's moko.
Gary spent 6 years at the sanatorium.
It was the first time that I really understood what it was like to be a disabled person.
A place where Gary says patients were treated like prisoners.
They used to call it patients or inmates.
Inmates?
Yes, I used to go, I'm not an inmate because I haven't committed a crime. I haven't done anything wrong, but here I am. There was physical and sexual abuse, psychological abuse, a loss of identity from morally.
In total, Gary would spend 26 years in different residential facilities.
I convinced myself that I gave informed consent to live this way because there were no other alternatives for me.
So the system convinced you that you were consenting to living that way?
Yes.
But somehow Gary never let the system stop him. Instead, he's become a leader for the disabled community, fighting to change the care structures put in place by the state.
We know that they don't actually work, and we know that they put people in danger.
In the last few years, he's again been an advocate for his community, as an expert on the Royal Commission of Inquiry.
My biggest driver was to make sure that the voice of disabled people was heard. Our voices might make other people uncomfortable because we can articulate a view of the world that they probably never considered before.
He's heard the abuse suffered by people with disabilities in places such as hospitals, schools and care homes.
Some survivors just want an apology from the state or faith-based organisations to admit that they got it wrong. Some people want compensation, so lots of survivors are in poverty.
Gary contributed to the final Whanaketia report and its recommendations.
What is your challenge to the government, Gary?
I would like the government to implement all the recommendations in the report. Just get on with the job and make it right for survivors and their partner.
Get on with the job?
Just get on with it. Don't look for reasons not to do it because that will be, in my view, another form of abuse by the state.